Hey, this is Passy from Passy's World of ICT, the guy with the white hat. And today we're having a look at an Animate Motion Tween color change animation where we're going to see someone in Australia get sunburnt in the sun. That's going to hurt. Okay, so we saw in a previous lesson, we had doing a color change with a shape tween. And what we did with that one was that we had this rectangle shape and we made it change colors. So all the different colors in the Roy G. Biv color spectrum. And so that's how you make a shape tween change color. But in this one, we're going to learn how to make a motion tween, something that's moving along, not something that's in one place like that rectangle. We're going to learn how to make that change color. And we'll also learn how to bend and reshape the path of a straight line motion tween. So this is the animation we'll be making in the lesson, an important message to kids about sunscreen. So you can see we've got three parts. We've got the motion tween there where the boy gradually turns red. Then we have the sunset scene. Then we have the end message. So it's kind of the standard 1, 2, 3 advertising. Now we could have made this a lot shorter and simpler just by having like a ball moving or bouncing and it could change color as it moved along. But we thought we'd make something kind of big and useful about it. And also we would show you how to make that sun travel in an arc rather than a straight line, which is very easily done. Then the challenge task is for you to have this meteorite animation. A meteorite's coming towards the Earth. It's going to sort of get to be an orange glow just before it explodes. And that's going to be interesting for the challenge task. So download images are provided of like the boy, the playground, the Earth, the moon, the meteorite, all those things. We've made all of those for you and you can get those in the downloads in the video description, which we'll talk about in a little while. Now remember, I'm a bit of a slow talker, so make sure you go to the tools cog on the YouTube player bar and just set the playback speed and make it to like 1.5, 1.75, even 2 times speed, and the video will flow a lot better. Now this is a long lesson. I'm imagining it's probably going to end up being a 1-hour lesson or close to it. So there's a video timeline index if you click in the YouTube description underneath the video, view more and have a look at it. And what you can do is you can stop at a certain section. So say you had looked at the workstage area and for some reason you had to stop here at 7:26. You can just come back another day to the video, use the timeline index, click on 7:26 and that'll take you straight to this section in the video, all right? So take breaks. Maybe don't try and do it all in one hit. We've kind of broken it up into sections anyway. Now, some pre-learning that will make things easier will be if you've done our Animate Drawing Tools tutorial, so you know how to draw things and the basics of making gradients and whatnot. And also if you've done the straight line motion tween, you already know how to make something move in a straight line like a car. So it'll be easier if you know those, but it's not absolutely essential. You can do this lesson without having done the previous lessons. We've tried to put enough into it that a beginner, this could be their first project, as long as they're patient and they're very careful while they do it. So we're going to do this color change during the motion tween. The boy's going to change color from normal to very painful red sunburn, and at night time as it sunsets, he's going to go, ah, this hurts. And I've been there and I know what that's like, especially living in Australia in the summertime. So we're going to start a new Animate project. We're going to use file import to stage. So rather than drawing things, we've got some photos that we took of a playground and of my son when he was little actually. And we're going to do file import to stage to bring those in. And we're going to create the background on one layer. Then we make another separate layer to do the sun. We're going to have the sun picture. Now, there is a download instructions on how to draw the sun, but we might not do it in this lesson. We'll see how we go for time. We'll make a motion tween for the sun, then we'll arrow tool bend it so it goes in that sort of up and down circle kind of shape, an arc. Make a new layer and bring the boy in, make him slide sideways, and then we'll use this tint effect to make him gradually change to a red color as he's getting sunburnt. We'll do that final end message which says about using sunscreen and has a picture of the sunscreen, the 50 plus, which kids should use. And then there's that challenge task for doing the to Earth Meteorite animation. There's also a second challenge task as well, which we'll talk about right at the end. So we've got all these lesson downloads for you. We actually drew these in, some of them in, most of these were made in Animate actually, except for the moon. The moon, we used an old product of Adobe's called Fireworks, which was a fantastic product, but Adobe pulled it off the market and you don't get it anymore as part of the Creative Cloud. We've still managed to have it on one PC that we've got. But yeah, it was great for drawing, but they wanted to force people to use Photoshop and Illustrator instead. So they took Fireworks out of the Creative collection, which was really bad form, I thought. But all those images are there to do the challenge task and to do the things in this lesson. So if you go to the YouTube description, there's links where you can click on them and get them, as well as step-by-step instructions for making this SunSmart animation. You can see that's what they're going to look like there, and we're going to be going through all those step-by-step instructions in this video. And we've also got a separate PDF on how to draw your own sun. So we made this sun all in Adobe Animate, all right? And then we just snipped it out and took it into Photoshop and made its background clear and saved it as a PNG. So you've got all of that as well if you want to have a go at drawing your own sun. So the Animate startup, when Animate starts up, this is Animate 2022, okay? This one's 2021, and it had Create New. We're now running with the new 2022, and it says New File here instead. But they both look pretty much the same. It's just whatever says New on it, click that and you'll be okay. And then for the document, we're going to use Gamer Education. Start off with 800 by 600, but we're going to change the width, make it a bit wider. We're going to make the width 1000, so you'll have to type that into that box. You can leave this as HTML5 canvas, that's fine, and then you click on the Create button. All right, because we're just going to be exporting as an animated GIF, so HTML5 canvas is fine for that. Now, when you get your new document opened up, there'll be a few things. There's the tools down the side, and if anything's not showing, you just use the window button. All right, so if those tools aren't showing up on your screen for some reason, just go Window, and then somewhere along here there'll be Tools, and you can tick it and they'll show up. Now, they're very long and they usually go right down off the bottom of the screen, especially if you're using a small laptop. So we suggest getting on the edge of them, and then when you see the double arrow, push down your mouse button and hold it down and just make this wide so that they're kind of two across, and then you'll always be able to see everything clearly on your screen. You can also move your mouse kind of around here and get a double arrow and push down once you have the double arrow and hold down and make your timeline bigger and smaller. And we're working in Essentials. To have this layout with tools here, timeline down the bottom, you need to go to this little thing here next to the upload button. There's a little other button. Click on that and make sure your workspace is in Essentials. All right, so use this button and go to Essentials. Click on that so you've got this kind of layout. All right, finally, for how big the piece of white paper is, the drawing stage, you might have to change that as you make your timeline bigger to see the layers. So you can just use a down arrow here and pick these pre-made ones, or just type in your own custom value like we did there for 85%. So I think for this project, we mostly use 75% most of the time while we were making this. And then we're ready to actually start building the animation. Now, the first thing we're going to do is, instead of having the stage a white color, we're going to make it a black color. And this is getting it ready right for the final message, which is way later in the process, in part 3. But we're going to get it all ready now. So you just go Window Properties and click on the Dock property, okay? And then there'll be the stage color. This color block will be white. Just click on it and make it a black color, right? And so you can get a black stage. And you can see that's where we set our 1000 by 600. So if yours is 800 by 600 here, just change that to 1000 so it's a little bit wider. Now, in 2021, they had this sliders icon as a shortcut to get into these properties, this properties panel here. But I'm not sure that in 2022, I was looking at it, I've only had it a couple of days, 2022, and I couldn't see this slider there. But anyway, we might check that out when we get into 2022 when we're doing the live demo. So that was that bit about the color block and making it black. All right, now getting the background involves importing the downloads image into Animate. Oh, don't worry about these white stars here. This was from the challenge task. That would just be all black. Those are the white stars when you do the challenge task. By the way, you just get the paintbrush and make it really tiny, like 3, and you just go click, 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 click to make little stars everywhere. But this should be all black. But anyway, we go File, Import, Import to Stage. And then what you can do is you can navigate to where you save that Park Sun picture from the downloads and you open that one up. All right, once we've got that opened up, you need to get on this resizer or free transform tool, and there's these little dots around there, and you can grab like this corner dot, push down on it and pull this in, because this is what we want to try and get it as close to this black rectangle that's outlined here. And so this one you could get on it with your mouse and pull it in to there and do things like that and move it around. And you'll see us do that in the live demo. So after we've imported something, we usually have to get on the resize tool and resize it. Now, at the moment, this will be called layer 1. Just double click in it and call it playground, because this is going to be for this playground background we've got. And also, after you've resized it, padlock it, all right, because we're finished with it and we don't want to accidentally go in and edit it later on while we're doing other layers. All right, go to Window Properties and bring up the Doc tab again. So we've got the Document tab open, and we're going to change the frames per second down here will be 24. We're going to make them into 12, because later on, when the boy's moving, the sun's moving, if you have 24 frames per second, zing, it'll just move too fast. This will kind of slow it down to make it at a more viewable speed. So we're just setting that up now in advance. So we're changing in the dock settings, the frames per second to 12. And then we've got all of that set up. So let's do a live demonstration and show you those steps. This is the first sort of part 1 of the project, which is getting that sunshine playground background set up. Okay, so here we are in Adobe Animate 2022. 2021 will look the same, except now this has got Create New. The other day it had Create File, but anyway, it said New File, but oh, what's going on here? I don't know. Let's do Create New anyway. So Create New, and this should fill out. It's running a bit slow because I've got Camtasia and PowerPoint and other things running as well. But go to Educational Game, either of those ones, and get 800 by 600. Then remember we were going in here and just making it a little bit wider, 1000. So it's 1000 by 600. And then we go Create. All right, now that's taking up way too much space because it's at 100% here. Notice that we're in Essentials, because if you're in something like Developer, it will change over in a minute. No, oh dear, it's going very slow. It'll be a totally different layout like this and look nothing like what we're telling you in the video. So make sure that you click in this workspace and you're in Essentials, all right? Then you'll have the layout we've got. You'll also have to go to this Properties and drop that down to 75%, and that's still a bit tight. We might even type that to 70%. But we have got a lot of the layers showing here, so you can go here and get the double white arrow just above the timeline, right? So just there, if you move your mouse, no finger on the button. When you've got the double arrow, just push down and pull, and that'll make that a little bit bigger. And then we can definitely see our white piece of paper. All right, so that's okay. And we've got our tools down here. Now, if your tools, Animate might have them like this, where they're all down the side. And sometimes on a small laptop, some of them go off here and you can't even see them. So I find it's better to just move on that border there until you get the double white arrow, and then push down and pull that out. So we've got our tools doubled up like that, and everything's a lot easier to see. All right, the properties are open at the moment. And I can see in this new Animate, there isn't a shortcut for properties, which is really a nuisance. Okay, so there's nothing for properties. Now, what if we use this little arrow here, collapse to icons? we have got the properties slider here now. So this sliders icon, which is ended up in the top right hand corner here, is to open the properties, all right? And click it again, they go away. The other way is to go window properties, all right? So you can just click the window tab up the top. Basically, we need to have the properties on so we can see, because this white stage area, we're just gonna click on that white color block there and just change it to black, all right? And our frames per second, 24 is gonna be too fast, so we're gonna drop them down to 12. All right, so that's got, if we go to our dock properties on this tab, we've got 12 frames per second, black stage, that's all looking good. And we can just click that properties icon again, the sliders, and then that'll go away for us. Now, what are we doing next? We were gonna double click in this layer 1 and we were gonna call that playground. All right, so we're just renaming that playground. Now we're ready to bring in the playground. So we go File, Import, Import to Stage, and we need to navigate down to where we have saved them. So you might have them in downloads. I've got them way over in here, and here's where all my downloads I've put them. So we want the park sun. We're going to make it go dark later on after the kid's sunburnt. We're going to have it sort of at night time when he's going, because the sunburn's really hurting. But for the start, we need park sun. So we just single click on that, so it's kind of a light blue color, then just go open, and it comes in and you can see it's monstrously big. So click on this free transform tool up here, this one, free transform, and then we can get on these corners and then push down your mouse and you can kind of drag in and you can push down on it and move it, and fairly quickly we can sort of get it to the right size. Now, another thing with sizing it is this little white dot in the middle, you can move that up to here and then try and pull it so it's kind of like that. If it's a little bit over the edge, it's okay. And then we need our white dot back in the middle actually, where it was. Now, I'm not sure where it was, because I think we're going to actually use the position coordinates of this guy later on. So you better line that back up. So it lines up with these two and lines up with these two, and that should be pretty much in the middle. All right, so that is the background done. So let's do a save at this stage. File, save as, and because Animate on my machine with so many things running while I'm filming this, could crash easily, and it has in the past. Big problem if you're doing a video at the same time. So let's just call this, I'm going to call it Lesson Demo 1, but you can call it Sunburn, all right? So we just did File, Save As, saving this as a FLAR document, a project document, and there it is. Now, looking at the top of mine, I've got a little black stripe there, so I need to stretch that up just a little bit more and move that up. So, and maybe I could stretch that a little wider. All right, doesn't matter if it's going over the edges a little bit, all right, that's fine. What we don't want is what I just had, a little black stripe up the top. All right, so that's our playground done. So let's just do File, Save, and put a padlock down on playground layer here in the bottom left-hand corner. Just click that padlock so it's locked, and that's done. So let's get on to the next thing. Okay, so the next thing is to make the moving boy. Remember, the boy moves across and then he goes all red because he's got sunburnt, all right? So we need to make the plus sign to make a new layer, and we're going to call that layer boy. And we've got our playground one padlock, so we won't accidentally mess that up while we're working on boy. And then we go File, Import, Import to Stage. And we can get the boy and bring him in, resize him so he's about this big with the resize tool, and then we're going to move him off the stage and just have him here over in the right hand side. That's going to be his starting position. So he goes up about kind of nearly half the size, half the height of that, bring him up that high, about that wide, move him over to here, and you can do all that with a resizing tool. And then before we can make him move, when you want to do a motion tween, you have to convert it into a movie clip. Movie clips are the things that we make move in Animate. So while we're clicked on him, so click on him so he's got that blue box around him, then go up the top and go modify, convert to symbol, all right? What'll happen then is this little box comes up. Make sure you change it to movie clip. Because we want to move him, just think move, movie. Because we want him moving, we need to make him into a movie clip, not a graphic or a shape, a movie clip, all right? And then for the name, the obvious name for him is boy, and then you just click the OK button when you've finished that. All right, so we're ready to make him move, and how we do that is with a thing called a motion tween. So actually go down on your timeline and click in this blue box here on the boy layer, and then right click and go create motion tween. What you'll see happen is that on the timeline, we've now got this kind of pea green type color, or this very horrible green. It used to be a much nicer color in the old Animate 2019, but anyway, they've gone for this color. And it should go up to frame 12, because remember, we're doing a 12 frame per second animation. So it's automatically moved that player bar to 12. Now, we need to stretch that out a bit. We want it to go to 24. So what we do is we move over the end of that with our double arrow, and then we push down once we've got the black double arrow and hold down the mouse and pull it out till it goes to 24. So now our motion tween is from frame 1 all the way up to frame 24. And when you've got the player bar here, see how it tells you it's in frame 24. If you can't read this scale and figure it out, it tells you up here. All right, so that's the thing. It'll go to 12. We've got to stretch it up to 24. And then while we've got that playhead at position 24, just push down on your boy and move him across to here, because that's the movement that we want to happen during the motion tween, all right? So this is then going to create a set of dots. So Animate's done all the in-betweening. These are all going to be little pictures of the boy, one after each other. And when it plays the little pictures, dot, 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 one after each other, it will look like the boy's moving to the center of the screen. Now, what happened to our playground? Our playground's completely gone. We'll fix that up in a minute. So after you've done this and taken your finger off the mouse, you should have a black dot here showing that it's made a keyframe for the end point. So this is the starting keyframe, this is the ending keyframe, and Adobe will put all of the in-between positions. That's called motion tween. Remember, tween stands for in between, and that's what's going to happen. And to make the playground stick around, I think you have to unlock it, and then you click in frame 24 on the playground, and then right click and insert keyframe. And then what'll happen is that when the boy's in the middle, you'll have the playground behind him still. So that'll make the playground stick around for the whole 24 frames of the boy's movement. And we'll show you and explain that more in the live demo, which will be coming up soon. But if you're doing this and following the instructions, remember you can get the step-by-step PDF instructions, just read them and do it step by step, and just come to the video when you get stuck and pick a point in the timeline index and watch the video for that part. All right, or maybe just want to watch all the live demo sections in the video. You can do all of that with the timeline index. It's a flexible learning system we got here. But if you press the play button on the timeline, you should see your boy coming from off screen, moving in and going to the center. All right, so all we need to do now is make the boy fade into a red color as he moves along. So as he moves along, we want him to get sunburned. So click into frame 20. So put a padlock back on your playground layer and click into frame 20 here. Of this boy layer, all right? And then we need to open up the properties, but we're doing the object properties. It'll probably open up and be on frame. You'll have to click on object, so you've got object. And we want to open up color effects using this down arrow, and then use the down arrow to pick tint. Tint is the sort of color effect we want to add here. Now, in the tint, there's a color block will appear, and we're going to set that color block. So next to tint, you'll have a color block. Click on that and set it to this bright red color. Bright red for sunburn. But we don't want it fully, the guy going fully red, or you won't be able to see his face anymore. So what we do is we set this percentage here to 52%, or around 50%. It doesn't have to be exactly 52. I think you can click in that block and type an exact value of 52 if you want to. And see, red is up at 255. Full on red is 255 with no green and blue. These are RGB colors. If you've done some of our other lessons where we talked about RGB colors, this will be making sense. If you haven't, don't worry about it. So don't change any of these red, green, blue sliders. Just leave them as Animate has them. Animate sets them when you pick the color block. But you do need to change tint to make it around 50%. Now play the animation with the play button. And what should happen is you should gradually see the boy as he moves. I'll be moving the opposite direction of what we're showing here. But he'll gradually go from his normal color to being a little bit pinky, and then he'll sort of go a sunburnt red like that. All right, and that's what we're going to see when we do the live demonstration now. So let's go and see how we put it all together so we've got the boy moving to the center and getting sunburnt. Okay, so here we are in Animate. Remember, the first thing was we needed a new layer, and double click where it says layer 2 there, and we're going to call this layer boy. Not boy, but boy. All right, now we've made our new layer called boy, and we're going to now bring in the boy onto that layer. So we go File, Import, and Import to Stage. That's how you bring a photo or a graphic image in that you've saved to your downloads folder. So File, Import, Import to Stage. We find that boy and we bring him in. Now he's way too big, and remember we were moving him over to here. We were making him a bit skinnier actually, and bringing his size down so that he was about halfway up the screen. So maybe even a little bit skinnier. And so we're just going to have him there. Maybe down a little bit. Trouble is it moves it from the center all the time. Yeah, that'll be about it, I think. So that's our boy in position. All right, then we change back. Got a mouse problem here. Then we change back to our move arrow. Make sure you clicked on the boy so he's got that blue box around him. And then remember, we needed to go to modify, convert to symbol, and we have to make, yours might be on button or it might be on graphic at the moment. Make sure it's on movie clip. Okay, registration dot we just want in the center. Make sure that one with the down arrow selector is on movie clip, and a great name for this guy will be boy. So that's what we're going to call him, and we're going to say okay. So now he's a movie clip, we'll be able to move him. And to get the movement happening, remember we go down the timeline here and go on this first box for the boy and right click on it, and we need to create motion tween. All right, so that has moved our slider up to frame 12. Now remember, we wanted ours to go to 24. So we get down on this layer here in the bottom left-hand corner timeline. You'll get this kind of double black arrow. Hopefully you can see that when we zoom in. And we just push down our mouse now and we drag that out so it's on block 24. Now I might just do CTRL and Z or CTRL and Z. Remember, that's your go backwards key if you make a mistake. There is this mountains icon here in this slider. So you can slide that, okay, to make your boxes bigger. So where this mountain slider is on the right hand side, I've just slid that along to make the boxes bigger so that when I do this, it'll be easier for you to see that we've gone to 24, all right? And you can see that says 24. Now, if you went too far and you checked up here and it says you're on frame 25, just go back down again, get your double arrows and just pull it back so it says 24 up here. All right, so that's definitely okay now. Now we leave our slider here, and how I'm moving that slider is I'm just pushing down on top of it and dragging it. So I'm just having it at frame 24. And at frame 24 there, remember we wanted to move the boy exactly across so that he's in the middle of the picture. So kind of about there. Okay, now that's going to create this movement. If we push down and move that slider, we can see this is creating the movement where he comes on to the middle of the stage there. But unfortunately our playground's disappeared. What we need to do is go down to our playground layer, click in number 24. I'll try leaving the padlock on and see what happens. right click and go insert keyframe, and that just copies our playground to here. So then our playground hangs around the whole time. So if we play this, okay, just hitting this play button on the timeline, you can see the boy is moving into the center. So that's really cool. Now we just need to add the sunburn effect to him. And remember, we were doing that at frame 20. Okay, so we had to move our slider to frame 20. And then we were getting into our properties. And it's on dock properties at the moment, but we need to click on the boy and be at frame 20. Get into the properties and go to the object properties. Okay, so we're on the object tab up here. Then color effects. If that's not showing, you just click this arrow here and it shows you the color effects, and none is at the moment. Click this down arrow. Remember, we're picking tinting, so we go to tint. So we've got color effects tint, and it doesn't look great if he's going orange. So we'll click in that color block and set it to red. Okay, so at frame 20 is going to be that red. And then when we move along, he's going to stay that red color. Did we want him to go any more? I think he's going to get red, more red later. But anyway, that's what we're doing. At frame 20, we're just having for him, if we click on him and look at the properties, when we're at frame 20, we've got red and it's at, oh, it's only at 30%. Remember, we were going for 52%, sorry. I think this was, yeah, I forgot to set that. So you can slide it and get it pretty close to 50, but 52, but 50 will do. All right, if you really want to get fussy, type in that box, click in that box and type 52 exactly, then just click anywhere off the box and we've got it. So yes, now he goes a nice sunburn color. So if we click this rewind button, no, have we got a rewind button? No, this is a thing. We used to have a rewind button in 2019, then in 2022 and 2021 it disappeared. I don't get Adobe because like they change things, and often from my viewpoint, stuff doesn't get better. They just, it seems to move it around or just make it harder to do stuff. I don't get it at all. There we are, our boy's getting sunburnt. So that is the boy finished, okay? So you might want to take a break here because we've been going for 30 minutes now. So it might be a good time to just take a break because we've still got quite a bit to do. We've got to make the sun come in and move across the top like that. And then we also have to make the sunset scene coming up after frame 25 in here with him going, ah, with the speech bubble. Then we've got to do the final message as well. So take a break if you want to, then you can use the video timeline index to come back later. And make sure you save your work at this stage. Always be saving your work constantly while you're doing it. Okay, so welcome back. And now we're going to make the moving sun. Now this is just the same as what we did for the boy. So if you've got a good memory, it'll be quick to do. But we make a new layer called sun, all right? And then there's a sun supplied in the downloads file. So we just do file, import to stage, bring that sun in, move it across to here, resize it so it's about this big, just above the boy's head, and make sure it's off the stage area over here when you do that. And then if you want to draw your own sun, there is a PDF document available. It takes through the steps how we drew the sun, making a star shape with 20 points on it, how we added the gradient, how we made the sunglasses and the smiley mouth. But if you want to learn how to do that, go look at this document. We were going to put it in the lesson, but the lessons ended up so long, we didn't want like a 2-hour lesson in here. All right, so let's do that again. So I'm going to convert it to symbol as a movie clip. Click in frame 1, then create your motion tween. Remember, we had to make the timeline marker go to frame 24, drag the sun over to the left, press the play button to test it, and the sun should move straight across the page, just like the boy did. So that's what we're going to do there. Then we're going to make the sun go up in the sky instead of staying down in the playground. And how you do that's quite easy, although it's very hard to see on this screen. You get on your arrow tool, and when you move near that orange line, you'll get an arrow with a part of a circle underneath. If we just zoom in, hopefully you can see that. I've got an arrow here with a circle underneath. So if you move on the line, you'll just see the normal arrow, but when you move just away from it, as soon as you get the circle underneath, that's when you push down your mouse and hold down your mouse, and you can actually bend that line up so it goes in a curve like this, and that's going to make the sun go up in the air across the sky and then come down again. So rather than a boring straight line, we're just using the arrow key, moving near that line, and when we get the little circle bit underneath, push down and hold and then bend it up so it goes in an arc shape or part of a circle like that. And then we'll have the sun looking much better, coming up and going down at night like the real sun does as it arcs its way across the sky throughout the day. So let's make that sun motion tween in Animate. All right, so remember, we better padlock our boy because we're finished with him. Make a new layer, double click in that, and that's going to be called sun. And just click anywhere off it there to, or press the enter button, so that takes. Then we're going File, Import, and Import to Stage. Okay, File, Import, Import Stage. Get not the explosion, which looks like a bit of a sun, but the sun from the downloads. Now it comes in really big. Remember, get onto your resize tool, and we're going to shrink it down a bit to about that size. And we were putting it near the boy's head like that. So it was off the stage to start off with, just there. Okay, then we were getting on the arrow tool, making sure we clicked on our sun. We were going modify, convert it to a symbol. So remember, you always have to make them into a movie clip type symbol, and then they'll be able to move. Now, if you forget to do that, if you skip this step accidentally, when you go to create the motion tween, it'll give this error message and say you need to turn items into movie clip. And if you just click OK, it'll kind of make this into a movie clip for you. So they've built some AI into Animate to help you not have too many errors, but it's best to get it right the first time. Then remember, while we're in that first dot here on the sun layer, and we've got the other two padlocked, right click in that first square after you've clicked into it, and we're creating a motion tween. All right, now that will take us out to frame 24 in the timeline, but you're going to have to grab the slider and move it up to frame 24 yourself. Animate didn't do that for us, so we're going to have to do that ourselves. And then we can grab our sun and we're just going to move it across so it ends up about here. And you can see it's made that orange dotted line. So if we play it now, it's a bit boring. The sun's kind of having a little race with the boy in the playground. We're playing races and the sun's winning. The sun wins every time. But what you need to do is get on your arrow tool, move near that orange line, and try and move somewhere where you can see. Yeah, hopefully if we zoom in on the video, you can see that when I'm just here, there's kind of this circle, bit of a circle shape underneath the arrow, although it's flashing like crazy at the moment. That's when I push down the mouse and I can bend this up. So I'm just going to bend it up, and maybe I'll have the sun sort of going here, so it's going behind the trees. And try not to adjust this too much. Let's drag this player head. You can push down on the player head and drag it. That's great, because it's not going, its spikes aren't going out of that rectangle. So I think that's going to be okay. So let's play it. And that's exactly what we want. We want the boy moving in and getting sunburn. There it is, midday, and now the sun's setting, and he's really burnt himself staying out in the sun all day. So the sun's kind of like a clock for this animation too, because we know over there it's coming up in the morning, there it's midday when it's highest, and then it comes down. So hopefully you've all studied that in science at some stage in your lives. So that's going to be really good. So that is our sun moving, and the sun is done. All right, so let's do a file save. And let's go to the next step, which is going to be making a whole new part of the animation, kind of big part 2, which is the sunset scene where where things get dark here in the background, and the boy's going to say, and the sun disappears because the sun has set. All right, so making the sunset playground. Now, something we need to do so that when we put this other image in of the other playground that's all dark, we need to make sure it goes in the exact same position as the bright sunlight one we've got there now, because if it doesn't, you'll get this little earthquake effect while your animation plays. So what we're going to do is we're just going to click into frame 1 of our playground layer here and bring up the properties for it, and they'll have this position and size, and we've got to note down these 4 numbers. All right, so I've actually got a notepad here and a pen, but if you don't have those, you can just open up Word or something on your PC and note them down, or even take a snipping tool screenshot of it and save the screenshot. But ours probably won't be exactly those numbers because it's kind of different for every time you do it. So let's go check out what they are. And, oh no, we'll do that in the live demo. But basically we have to note down the position. So you're going to have width and height and the X and Y coordinates, which we'll explain later in the video how X and Y coordinates work in Animate, because it's slightly a little bit back to front to what they do in mathematics. Now we're going to make the sun go down on the playground scene. All right, so we're going to click into frame rectangle at frame 25 of the playground layer, and then we right click and insert a blank keyframe. So we're going to have to unpadlock this, I think, to do this, and right click in that new empty one at 25 and insert a blank keyframe, and that'll make an empty keyframe. We'll be able to import the dark background image onto the stage, so we get playground dark and bring that in. Of course, when we bring it in, we're going to have to unpadlock that or it won't come in, so make sure the padlock's off on the playground. And then you go File, Import, Import to Stage, get that playground dark image, bring that in, and then of course we're going to have to resize it and get it roughly right. And then to get it exactly right, we're going to have to go Window Properties on it, and we're going to have to make these position and size values, manually type them in so they're exactly the same as the ones that we noted down previously. Then this playground should be in the exact same position as the other playground, and it should transition smoothly when we play it. All right, so now we need to have this playground, this dark playground, hang around a while. And so we're going to go now on the playground layer up to frame number 40, click in the empty block that's there so it goes blue, and then right click and insert a keyframe, which will just copy our picture of the playground from here up to here. So whenever you click anywhere and then right click and insert keyframe, it just goes back to the latest dot you've got on your timeline and basically copies whatever is in there to here. All right, so when you finish, it'll look like this, and you've got a copy of the playground now at frame 40, the dark playground at 40. So when you play it now, what should happen is you'll see what we built already. Then the dark playground comes in, and the dark playground's hanging around for a while. It's hanging around in frame 25, 26, all the way up to 30, 35, and up to 40. Okay, so I'm just going to note that down. Frame 40 is where we want to end the dark playground, because the next step is to make the boy in the sunset scene, but we're not going to do that yet. We're just going to make the dark playground. So let's jump across to Animate and do that now. Okay, so let's padlock the sun because the sun is done. Make a new layer. This is called Sunset. This one, Sunset Play. Let's call it Sunset Play. That's for the sunset playground. And then we're going to have to do that. We've got to note down on this playground here, if we just go to Properties and go to the Object Properties. Now, I think we've got a problem because we've got a padlock on that. We'll take the padlock off, click in that first box and go to Properties. And we want the properties of the object. So we click on Object. And we want to note down this width, height, and X and Y coordinates. So let's note them down. Width is 1016. Now yours will not be these exact values. Every time anyone does this, they'll get slightly different values. That's fine. We just have to make sure that the values of our new dark playground end up the same as our original playground, and then it's going to transition smoothly without any bumpy earthquakes between this bright colored one and the dark colored one. All right, so we've noted that down. Now we're going to frame 25 here on the playground layer down the bottom left-hand corner. Right click on that and we're doing insert a blank keyframe, because we don't want to copy the previous playground. We want to make a brand new one. So we make a blank keyframe, all right, which will just get us back to our original black background that we made right at the start of things. Now we're going File, Import, and Import to Stage. You should be getting pretty used to that by now. Get the dark playground. It's going to be way too big. Get on our resize tool, shrink it down a bit, and just get it roughly in position and roughly the right size, because we're going to set everything exactly the same size and position by doing its properties. So you can see its properties at the moment aren't what we wrote down. So this needs to get changed. So this needs to be 1016 is what I wrote down for mine, 0.85. Remember, yours will be different, and that's okay. X needs to be at -4. And this height needs to be 618. Oops, 618.6, and our y coordinate needs to be -11. And there we are. Now, if we get on our timeline indicator here, push down on it and drag, there's the other playground. And notice when we come into this one, they're exactly the same. It's just got darker. If you don't have those coordinates right, I'll show you what happens. If you don't do the coordinates exactly. Now we're not on the object because we need to click on the actual box down here in Playground to get object properties. Let's say you didn't have those exact values and we had x is -8, which isn't a big difference, but you'll notice that what you see now is, there's the playground. See how it's shifting a little bit to the left? Maybe I'll exaggerate it even a bit more just to make it obvious. So get on the properties of the object properties. Let's make this like -28, all right, for our x coordinate. So we're on this one. See how it jumps backwards, okay, as the animation plays? That's not what we want. So we've got to make sure when we click on that box at frame 25 for the playground, go to the properties, go to the object tab here. We've got to make sure these values are exactly the same. Okay, those values there, those 4 values for position and size, need to be exactly the same as what they were back in this first frame where we had the bright playground. So if we compare that one with this one, those 4 numbers are exactly the same, all right? So that's going to make things good. Enough of that. We've got to go to frame 40 now and right-click and insert a keyframe this time. All right, if you do blank keyframe and it goes black, you'll know something's wrong. Just hold down CTRL key in the bottom left-hand corner and press Z if you're in America, or Z if you're in the UK or Australia, to go backwards a step. And you can go back lots of steps if you make mistakes. So we need insert keyframe that's going to copy that. So now we'll have that one, and we've got this sunset thing hanging around. Now we just need the boy to be in the middle again, in the exact same position as he was. So let's just play this. That's all good. The boy goes there, you get sunburned, and now the sun's set and the sun's staying down for a while. And then after that, later on, we'll have the final message here. Make the sunset scene. So here we go. So we've got our boy, and here he is, all right? And he's finishing at frame 24. What we need to do is we need to, again, just frame 24 where he finished in the middle of the screen there, you need to click in that box, bring up the properties, and again, note down the 4 values, because we're going to have the new boy that comes in at number 25, the exact same size as the old boy, all right? So Something about the coordinates, if you're wondering about these X and Y coordinates, how they work, because when he's in the middle of the screen, how's he at Y 421 and X 478 or whatever? Well, remember when we set up our document, we set it up as 1000 by 600. Now, in maths, or math, if you're in America, math, coordinate geometry, if you want to get really technical, the x-axis goes across here. So our x-axis, the origin's here at 0, 0. This middle point would be x equals 500. This is x equals 1000. Now in math, the y would go straight up like this. In Animate and a lot of other computer applications as well, the y-axis goes down the screen, not up. So this is actually y equals 300, and this is actually y equals 600. So the boy is at x is 478. Well, there's 500, that's halfway. 478 is very close to 500, so that middle dot there isn't quite at 500, it's actually at 478. And that middle dot is 400 and, what is it saying? 421 for its y. So it's 300 down, plus it's down about 400 and a little bit more. So this dot here that's the middle of the boy is basically at x is 478 and down to y equals 420, and then you can graph that dot. So that's just how the coordinates work if you're wondering about that. They are a bit, on the y-axis, they're back to front to what they are in mathematics. But anyway, we need to note those down. Then what we can do is we can do the same thing we just did for the other one, for the playground. We right click, make a blank keyframe. We have to not import the boy. So don't import the boy to the blank keyframe. Do not do import stage. Instead, the boy's already in the library because we saved him as a movie clip. All right, so we just need to bring him out from the library. All right, and how you do that is you open up the library tab or go window here and library to bring up the library. Click on the one that says boy, and then you'll see the boy here, and then you can drag him across and put him roughly in the middle, and then we can adjust his coordinates so he's exactly in the right spot, and then the boy is there. And all we need to do now is give him a bit of sunburn. So we just go back into our object tint properties, and we're going to make him more sunburnt. He's going to go from 50 up to 65% this time. And then click into frame 40 and insert keyframe to copy the boy. And what'll happen now is we've got that. We've got the sunburnt boy sitting there, and all we have to do is make a new layer, put a speech bubble that says "ah," and that is done. But let's get this boy done. Oh, we're going to do the speech bubble as well. Okay, so add a new layer, call it speech bubble. You just have to import the speech bubble. No, you have to click in here because we don't want the speech bubble to come in here at the start. We don't want it till frame 25. So right click and insert a blank keyframe. So we've got somewhere for it to go at number 25. A blank keyframe is kind of like a new piece of drawing paper, if you like. Then you can file import to stage, get the speech bubble, click open, bring it in and resize it and put it near the boy like that. And then we just need to make sure we copy the speech bubble to frame 40 so it sticks around for the whole sunset scene we've got running here from 25 up to 40. And then what will happen is we'll have that and the boy will go, ah, okay. So let's get into that and finish off this whole part 2, which is kind of the sunset scene. Okay, so here we are in Animate, and we're doing the sunset play at the moment, and we've got the playground done, and it's going up to 40. So I can just padlock that. Now, I could have put the sunset picture here, actually, but I didn't. I added it on to the end of the playground. That's okay. It's all working all right. So let's make this one the sunset. This is our sunset scene. Special characters are not permitted. Oh, okay, so I put a space in it, didn't like that. So anyway, let's fix it up for me. This is a sunset scene. So we need to bring the boy in. Actually, this is going to be the sunset boy. Sorry about this. The video's been going a long time and concentration wanes. All right, so at sunset boy, we're just going to right click and insert a blank keyframe. Right, having fun here. Now, do we have a little round circle? No, that didn't seem to work. So Sunset Boy, we want to right click and insert a blank keyframe. And yes, we've got the little round circle there. So I just clicked in there, insert blank keyframe, and it's in there now. Now, we're not doing file, import to stage, and bring the boy in again, because we've already brought him in once. So if you've already brought something in, you can go to Window and go to Library. All right, or use this Library Books sort of thumbnail icon symbol here. But you see, that's the sun, that's the dark playground, there's the sunny playground, there's the kid, okay? And that's the kid picture. We need to be on the kid movie clip, the boy. So what we're doing is we're clicking on him. So here's the active one. Then you push down your mouse and hold it down and drag it out of the library and put the boy here. And that way the boy is the exact correct size. He'll be the same size as the other boy we had. All right. So we have to have it look exactly the same. Now we'll roughly put him in the middle, but he might not be in the right spot. So remember, what we do is we go back to our other boy layer. I think you have to take, let's see whether you have to take the padlock off or not. Yeah, we've got to take the padlock off. So we go back to the boy here where he was, we click on him, then we go, okay, let's go to the object properties of the boy, and we're going to note down those coordinates. So remember, yours will be different, but I need to note them down in my little notebook here. 286.35, 345.25, 495.25, and 434.6. All right, so this boy here that we've brought in, we need to go to his properties on the object tab. And how close is he? 286.35. Wow, that's exactly right. 345.25. Hang on. Okay, so his size is exactly the same, which you'd expect because we grabbed him from the library. If you did file import him, I think when you change these numbers, he would be the right size, but it's easy to bring him in from the library, then he's the right size. All we've got to change is his X and Y. Now, he's too far down, it's saying there. He's supposed to be at 495.25. He's not far enough across. 495.25. And here, he's supposed to be at 434. Oh, so close. 434.6 was the value. So there's beforehand, right? Just by clicking here in number 24, and there's the boy. And we're not seeing any jumping at all, and he looks exactly the same. So he's the right size. Now all we need to do is go to the properties again, onto him. He needs some color effect, some tint. So he automatically gets the red 52%, the last lot of settings we had. Remember, we're bumping that up now to 65%. It's nighttime, and after the sun goes down and you're at home that night, because sun burns down to the lower layers of your skin, I think, and then the heat sort of comes out hours later. So at nighttime, you suddenly go really red and it really starts hurting. I wouldn't advise doing this to see what it's really like, okay? Because it's painful and it's not good for your health long term. That's why we're going to have the message to put on the sunscreen, especially if you're here in Australia or other countries with high summer UV. But let's stop talking. We've got the boy ready. Now we go to frame 40 and we go insert a keyframe to copy him. Now he'll be hanging around. So if we drag that slider, there's our thing. There's our boy in the dark. Now we just need to add the speech bubble. So we make a new layer. Just call this speech. Okay, now we need to go to frame 25 and insert a blank keyframe. Because we want to import in that speech bubble. Let's just padlock the sunset boy and padlock all those other ones there. And remember, we can move up if we want to see them all as well. But we're at number 25 and we've right clicked and made a blank keyframe. So that means that when we go file, import to stage, and get our speech bubble. It's going to come in at frame 25. Of course, it's way too big. Things always are when you import them, so we shrink it down a bit, and we kind of want it coming out next to him. Well, it's just something like that. And then we want it hanging around right till the end. So on that speech layer, just right click on frame 40, and remember it's insert keyframe to make a copy. So blank keyframe makes a new empty one that you can file import into. Insert keyframe just copies the last one you had. So it'll copy our red sunburn boy to the end. And if we play now, we've got all that happening, and all right, and now we've just got to make the end scene. And we'll just go through that quickly and then we'll be done. And we've already done 60 minutes, which surprises me. I was hoping it'd go quicker than this. So make sure you're watching this at 1.5 speed or faster. All right, so we're teaching a lot of things here. We're teaching how to make a whole little sort of advertisement movie was the idea of it. And so it's 3 lessons in one. Remember that, that's why it's taking so long. So now we just need to add in layers and frames for the final sun safety message. So we've got all that stuff done, and we're going to insert blank keyframes at frame 41 and 70 of the playground layers. So we're not going to make a new layer. At the moment, the playground ends at 40. Just go to 41 and right-click, insert blank keyframe. Go to 70, right-click, insert blank keyframe. You should get the round open circle when you do that. And we're going to create 2 layers called the sunscreen for the sunscreen bottle and the end message for the typing. And we're making new keyframes at 41 for those guys, all right? So we're going to do that in the layers. And then in our end message, just click in that one at 41, get on the text tool. Now we need 100 for the size, white for the color, and Times New Roman. So got to remember Times New Roman 100 for the properties of the tool when we're on that T text tool. Once you've got those set up, you can type it in. We're just typing in remember to, and then we press the enter key. Then on the next line, where, then we press the enter key, and so on. Remember to wear sunscreen, kids. If it brings up that Adobe Lorem Ipsum stuff, just backspace that out and then type this in. And then you can, after you've got it all typed in, you can get on your arrow tool and position the whole box of text to go over here. And then we just need to, on our sunscreen bottle layer, make a blank keyframe at 41 and just bring in our bottle of sunscreen, and that's okay there. And then when we test it, we should have the whole thing finished, and all we need to do is export it. So that should finish it off. So we've done parts 1, parts 2, and so let's create the final ending message in Animate. Okay, so here we are in Animate. Remember, we weren't going to, we were going down the playground layer. We were inserting a blank keyframe here at 41, and we're ending at 70. So we're making another blank keyframe at 70. So what that's going to do is between 40 and 70, we're just going to have a black background now. We're just going back to the raw stage background of black that we set up right at the start. And then remember, we need a new layer for the, and now I've made my layer down here. Remember, you can push down on it and drag it up the top, because this is going to be the layer that is for the message, for our text. So at number 41, we're going to insert a blank keyframe there that we can do writing onto. Then we're going to have another layer for the sunscreen, for the actual bottle of sunscreen, and we're going to import that in. All right, so at the message one, at number 41, just click in that, then get on your T tool here, and we need to open up its properties. Now, fill color, we want it to be white writing, bright white, so make sure that's set to white. Here we've got that at 100. Now for the fonts, there's a million different fonts. Just keep going down till you get to the T ones. And then we want Times New Roman. So they're in alphabetical order. So that's what we want. It's set up at 100. VA is at 0. Static text. It all looks good in the properties. Now we can just click in here. Remember, our message was going to be remember to, then we're pressing the enter key. Remember to wear whoops, and then press the enter key, Sunscreen, kids. And we'll put an exclamation mark on the end of it. I'm not sure whether it had an exclamation mark. Now get on your black arrow tool. So change from the text tool to the black arrow tool, and we can just move that around to sort of there, and that's good. Then we just need to go to our sunscreen layer, and at number 41, right click and insert a blank keyframe. Blank because we want to import something. Remember, when you want to import something, you need a blank keyframe. If you need to copy something that's already there, you need to have just an insert keyframe to do copying. So there's our sunscreen, and we can just resize it. And if we drag our pointer, we don't actually need to copy those into the other frame. Animate's going to automatically make them last to the end to match up with the background lasting to the end, all right? So you might be thinking, well, why don't we just go here? Well, you can go here and go insert keyframe if you want, and you can go to the very end on message and insert a keyframe as well. But we don't actually need to, all right? It'll hang around till the end anyway. So when we play it, we've got the boy gets sunburned. Ah, that was horrible. And remember to wear sunscreen. Kids, a valuable lesson learnt. So let's save that. And now all we have to do is export it into an animated GIF. So we're well and truly in the home stretch. So let's get this guy wrapped up. So go to the File tab and go to Export this time, not Import, to Export. We want to export an animated GIF. It just brings up this screen where you don't have to change anything. All you have to do is just click the settings and save the guy. And what will happen is it takes a little while. You might think Animate's crashed, but it won't. But it goes to open up just normal Windows folders. You pick somewhere where you want to save it. You give it a name. It needs to be .gif. Don't change the .gif. Make sure that's on the end. Click your Save button. Then you'll have it in your folder with all your stuff, and you can double click on it in Windows, and it's going to play just like this. All we've done in this PowerPoint is just go and insert image and grab that GIF file, and that's how it's running right there. Okay, and so let's just have a look at that, and then our lesson is just about done. Okay, so you can just grab this slider if you want and rewind it back to the start, but we just need to go File and then Export, and Export Animated GIF is the one we're doing. File, Export, Export Animated GIF, because we want to make an animated GIF. Now this might sort of pause for a while, and it takes a while to do this. And so if things are taking a while, don't worry, unless they start taking longer than 2 or 3 minutes, then something's probably wrong. But here we just need it as a GIF. All right, we don't name it up there to make a preset. We just leave all this stuff as it is and just click the Save button. Then we need to pick somewhere where we're going to save it. So we're just going to call it Lesson Demo GIF and .gif on the end. Click Save. And it might take a while for it to do that. It's actually making the GIF. It's finished making it when we come back to the animation. And all we've got to do now is go to our folders where we've got a million things here. Here's Lesson Demo GIF. And if we double click that, there it is. That's the one we've just made in the lesson. So, remember to wear sunscreen, kids. Now, for some reason, this time around, the 65%'s made his face really dark and red. Might back that tint off and remake it, but that's the idea. The other one was actually better, although we're following the same instructions as the other one. Sunburn V8. Was that the last one? Got so many versions here. That one there. Yeah, our boy's face didn't blotch out red. Okay. Not sure what's happened in the lesson one. I hope that's not just a difference between Animate 2021 and 2022, because I think this is the first project we've done using this 2022, which just downloaded the other day. And yeah, not only has our kid got sunburn now when it's nighttime, he's also got lots of blisters because we can hardly see his face, but the message certainly gets across. All right, so challenge task 1, this is the same skills as you've just learned. Basically, you're making a meteorite that's moving in a straight line here of a motion tween. These are just just place there with file import, import to stage and resize. They're on their own layers. So you're going to have layers, that's the space. Remember to make the stars, we talked about that, get the paintbrush, put on about size 2 or 3 on white paint and just go click, 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 click a million times to make all these stars. Well, not a million, but a lot of times. Then you've got the background layer. Remember, make a new layer called Earth, and you can bring the Earth in and then make it stick around for 24 frames. Bring the moon in and bring your meteor in, start it off the stage here. It's going to be like the sun was in the other one, or the boy moving along in a motion tween. The tint is actually changing it. At frame 17, you click in here and add a change. So there it goes to 30%. And then at frames 22 and 24, the tint's just a little bit higher at 62%. So like you just click in number 20 and then get into object properties and make it 62%. So it's happening so fast you can't really see it, but it is making it a nice gradual change to orange as it heats up as it approaches the Earth. Challenge task 2, if you've done some more of our lessons about circular motion and other things, which we do have on the YouTube channel, you might be able to try a more ambitious sunscreen animation that adds a few more things in. But basically it's the old 1, 2, 3 message. Things about staying safe in the sun. I like this one with the picnic. The guy's just kind of bumping along. Then he sees a hot dog and he eats it, but he was in the sun too long and he's got burnt, and that's no good. So remember to wear your sunscreen and be SunSmart. So give this video a big thumbs up like, and we hope you've enjoyed it and you're having fun with Adobe Animate. So thumbs up, like, and remember I'm putting out lessons as often as we can, and there will be a couple more Animate ones still to come that we've got in the pipeline. So subscribe, and we'll see you in the next lesson.